Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all nice and friendly and ready for this week to come. Um, so let's start off the week on a good spot. Um, I'm Herman Strauss. I would like to discuss this topic with you today: how to get discounted standards. This is a note on tax. Before we start, let's just remember and remember not to get complacent with COVID. I know that we are all at a place where we wish we can get rid of the masks and just go back to what we knew life were before. But please remember, and please remember to follow the basic rules. I'm not going to go through that. We all understand that. Let's keep good hygiene and let's be courteous to others. Um, so the objective of today's discussion is actually quite simple, and if we might even be finished early, or we might even finish early, because it's one simple task at hand. I want to explain to you how you can get your standard at a discount. Frankly, behind the scenes, I want to encourage you to go and buy the same standards. We've heard in so many occasions that the standards are too expensive and we can't fit it in the business expenses and so on. Guess what? I mean, we all like a good discount. The standards can be bought at a good discount, and it's all through the tax system, completely legal. This is the way that it has been intended within the tax system in any case. So let's just look at this a little bit. First of all, I have to stress and I have to put my disclaimer out there. I'm not a tax expert. I'm just a simple small business owner. That's the perspective from which I'm explaining this. So please understand that the terminology I use is the way it makes sense in my head. I'm not trying to use tax terminology, SaaS terminology, anything like that. So if there's anything that sounds confusing, double check with a with a real professional. Um, there are many resources out there that you can use that will give you the exact answers and much more detail than I'm going to present today. Today, I'm going to just present the basic principles that encourage you to take it further and make the best of the opportunities that is out there. So the first thing I want to encourage you is to make use, or something I think you should strongly consider, is to make use of a tax practitioner. So I have found that this is my personal experience, and a lot of the people I work with made similar comments, that I I take it tax and all the legislation serious. I make sure that I understand what we're doing, what I do in my business, my private tax environment, and so on, and that I complete everything as detailed and as accurate as possible. But when I've made use, I mean, you normally have to pay for a tax practitioner to help fill in your documents. Why do you do that? Not because I'm too lazy to do that, not because I don't understand what happens on the tax forms. It is because they understand it that much better. And I tend to find that when I do that, I actually score more. I get more benefit than I pay the tax practitioner. I get more money back from SARS than I pay to the tax practitioner. It not only it makes financial sense or work financially for me, it also gave me confidence that I don't inadvertently do something wrong, that I don't claim stuff, especially when you start claiming stuff back. You cautious, or well, I've been very cautious that I don't claim stuff and something that can make SARS come after me later on. Making use of a tax practitioner also just gave me that little bit of confidence that I know I'm on the right track. Um, the other resource that one needs to take in consideration, or always remember, if you don't have access to a tax practitioner, you can actually visit the SARS branch for free. If you go onto the SARS website, you fill in their request, you can book through their website, and they can assist you with a lot of the information. So don't let, I would say, don't let ignorance prevent you from claiming what you are due, from claiming what you can. Don't let ignorance put you in a bad position. There are many resources available that can help you. Knowledge is power. Make sure you understand. So what is the principle of tax? I mean, we're not gonna discuss. Nobody likes tax, but we also understand that it is necessary, and there can be lots of arguments. So let's leave the arguments about what the tax level should be and what happens with the money and so on. Fact is, we pay tax. There's a principle. Whatever you earn, whatever money goes to you, the government will take a portion of that. So keep it fairly simple. Individuals, the earnings, whatever you earn, the earnings is typically in three categories: either through a salary, a commission base, or through a business. That's the three basic ways that you typically earn earn a living, earn revenue. So the graph on the screen shows that the more you earn, the higher the percentage that you pay. So if you look at that whole bar, the full length of the bar depicts the total amount of your earnings. Of that earnings, the red portion is the portion that goes to the government, and the blue portion is the portion that's left for you. So the more you earn, the bigger portion of your revenue goes towards the government, goes towards tax. So while we pay this in any case, and the better you do, the more successful you are, the more you pay. So make sure that however you structure your business, that you also get the best value out of that. And after all, it's not all a negative thing. There are basic principles that is applied in to calculate the tax, and SARS allow you to do business freely and actually support you to do business freely. But I'll touch on that just now. So to earn revenue through a company, a tradesman typically either earn revenue through a business or as a private individual. So, or through a registered company or as a private individual. So a registered company, we all understand, and I know most of you know this already, but we'll get to the crux of the matter just now. So a company earns revenue. You have expenses. The difference between the revenue and the expenses is the profit, and it's on the profit that you get taxed. So company tax at the moment, I think 28%, that gets paid directly to SARS. But out of the profit, the business, if you are the owner, your profit, the profit portion after salaries and so on, also gets paid to you. And out of that, you also pay tax to SARS based on the different salary scales and so on. So yes, it can become a little bit more complex than that. You can add quite a few arrows, and I thought I'll just keep it simple. Let's not draw all the lines after all. This is not really a tax presentation. This just gives the principles so that we can get to the point. As a private individual, you can also operate a business even if you don't have a formal company registered on SIPC. So as a private individual, the same principles apply. The principle is there are revenue generated. You subtract the expenses related to that portion of the revenue, related to the revenue that was generated, and the difference is the profit, and it's on that profit that you get taxed. Again, when you're a private individual, it is just the straight tax out of your tax bracket, on your specific tax bracket. Understand that for many people, interesting, they can earn a salary and have a business. When you complete your tax return, there are a portion to complete your normal salary. And then if you have a sideline business running something on the side, even if you run more than one item on the site, you can register each one of them as a separate business. The revenue expenses of that separate business gets calculated, and you pay tax on the profit. Maybe a good time to mention as well that you can pay tax on the profit, but if it's a loss, that also gets deducted from your revenue. So it does work both ways. But here's where it becomes important to understand. Remember that when tax is calculated, SARS apply the principle that all expenses, all business expenses, can be deducted from your revenue. And this is also the part that I found in my business that I don't want trouble with SARS. I think twice about deducting something. So you want to make sure what can you deduct, what can't you, what is legitimate expenses that you can take off your revenue before you show the profit or not. And in principle, whether you do business as a company or whether you do business as a private individual, the expenses that you can claim is the same. They might be accounted slightly different on the tax forms, but you can claim all the same expenses. So understand that if you're individual, you're not more restricted. If you operate, for instance, a plumbing business, just as you're on your own, you go out, you do the work, you operate all your transactions go through your one single private bank account, not through a company account. You can still claim all of these expenses against your company, against your business activity. And you can do all of that on your form. Very important. I'm not trying to promote taking chances or going into gray areas with SARS whatsoever. All expenses that you claim must be legitimate expenses. We know that SARS implement various rules to look at people that claim expenses that's not really legitimate. So only legitimate, and that's the typical wording that used by SARS and by other organizations that give advice. Just say, is it legitimate? So for instance, if I use one example, a motor vehicle, a fairly common example. If you have one vehicle and you use it for business purposes, but you also use it for private purpose, then you cannot claim the full cost of the vehicle against the business. You have to account what portion of the vehicle is used for the business and what portion of the vehicle is used for private. Now, please, I'm not going to go into the details to explain how that one is. Especially vehicles can get confusing, if you ask me. But there are strict rules on how to apply that. The same apply for other things, like a cell phone, for instance. Ironically, when I just double check the data that I'm presenting now, this was one of the examples that came up quite a lot of times. Cell phone. If you use your cell phone for private and business, don't claim the full cell phone just against the business. Office space. Office space is another popular one, especially if you have a home office. What portion of your house is actually used for the business? Is it legitimately just for the business? Do you share the room with other for other purposes, for private purposes as well? So to what extent can you claim and can you not claim? Again, please, there's resources, and I'll give you some of the links a bit later. Use those resources to double check and make sure what you can and what you can't. But there's a rule of thumb you can apply. The rule of thumb, if you're not sure if you can claim something or not, ask yourself the question. Well, there we go. Next slide. So the rule of thumb. How does a standard help you do business? Oh no, sorry, I messed my slides up a little bit. The rule of thumb, I'm sure you saw it on the previous slide. It just says, if you're not sure about the expense, ask yourself, how did this help me do business? So if we apply that rule with a standard, how does a standard help me do business? So a standard we know that you have to legally comply with the standard. So of course, you have to have a copy of the standard in order to do a plumbing business properly. Same apply to many other businesses or many other trades as well. It even helps you to get a competitive advantage if you can offer things that you do it by the book, by the standard, while others don't. You have to stay on top of what the latest versions is, which give you a competitive edge, which help you with risk management. Because if you do follow that, there's fewer comebacks, fewer possible comebacks, and so on. And you can go on. There are many more things. So yes, a standard is most definitely a legitimate expense if you buy a standard. So the question now is, if it is an expense, if it's a legitimate expense, how and where do you account for that? I think as a company, it is fairly simple because I mean through your normal accounting system, there's actually different ways that you can or different categories under which you can claim the standard back. It is often used or often added as stationery. Sometimes can add it as resource material. It's one of the cost of sales items that you can claim back. So from a company side, I'm not going to spend too much time. Normal accounting. If you're a private individual and you want to claim the standard back, how do you do that? Where do you complete that? So this all comes in when you complete your ITR 12, your annual tax return. When that is completed, you have to go to a section. It is a section called local business. So this section on local business is where you capture all of your activities that is attributed to the business initiative, to the initiative you have, which generates your money, which generates your revenue. So first of all, there's two resources I strongly encourage you to visit. Take a screenshot. You can even just do a Google search, South African Institute of Taxation. That website, they give a lot of good indications on how to do this, but they also explain in this section that this type of taxpayer, they refer to a private that has business on some, can claim all typical business expenses incurred in production of their business income. This is rather a broad category, and they explain that there's basically no limits, and they list everything, provided that it is legitimate business income, that it's legitimate business expenses that you are claiming. Another very, very practical guide, very good one to use. This one goes into more detail as well. It's actually published by SARS. So if SARS published this, you can follow that. You won't get into trouble for that. This is not the opinion of somebody that someone else might hold a different opinion on. So the website link below, you can download this guide directly. So this guide gives you everything you need to know for completing your own personal tax return. Page 48 of this guide, item 5.6, explains everything about the local business category. So it explains what you can claim, what you can't claim, how to deal with that, how to take that forward. Just a quick understanding of the principle that is applied in this tax form for local business category. So the first step is you got to get a name for this. So the first time that you complete this, you just give a name. So I mean, call it plumbing business. It might be something else, 3D printing business, whatever name you want to come up with. You add that in there, and I think they ask for a short description of what it is that you use as a business. Next step is there need to be a unique identifier. This is a number, and effectively SARS will allocate a number to this. So the first year that you add your plumbing business on as a local business, SARS will allocate the number, and in all future years, they will use that unique identifier, that unique number to evaluate the document. So year after year, 1 year you might make a profit out of this and you pay tax on the profit. 1 year you might have a loss on this business, and you will claim back some revenue or some tax because of the loss that you've made. through that part. It's all been tracked through the unique identifier for that business activity. Step 3 is completing the detail. So there are different headings. So the bullet points down there is the headings that you find on the tax form. And I'm not going to go through the details. Important is the first two. Well, two important things. Number one, you will note if you look at the headings that you can claim just about anything that you would have been able to claim as a registered company as well. Important income and expenditure. There's 22 types of expenditure listed that you enter the specific type of expenditure and you enter the value for that. Two of those that you can consider for claiming the standard back. 564 explains capital expenditure and general expenses. So under capital expenses, again, go and have a look at it in the tax manual. It says that anything that you use to promote your business, to give you a competitive edge and so on, they explain, and this is SARS document, they explain that it's a very broad terminology. It's not only physical items. So standards can potentially fall under that. And general expenses, it's just a general item that you need in order to do business. Very important when you go through all of that is maintain records. Keep your records. This can be as simple as keeping a Excel spreadsheet with all of the transactions and keeping the receipts, because SARS may want to look at that. They may ask the justification for all of that. You can use the SARS tables as references when you compile that. It can be as complex as a full accounting system on your own, and you can still claim it as a private individual. But very, very important, keep the records, keep proper records of exactly what you do, where you do, so that you can claim that. And that includes the standards. So in conclusion, SANS standards are legitimate business expenses that can be deducted from revenue before tax. By deducting it from the SARS, you get back your tax rate. In other words, if you do it as a company, it's effectively a 28% discount on your standard. If you're a private individual, whatever your tax bracket is, that is the amount of money you get back when you claim this. And that can be a significant discount on your standards. It does not have to cost you an arm and a leg. The resources I've mentioned is on this page. You can make this available again afterwards. So please, I strongly encourage you to make use of this. Double check what I've said. Don't just take my word for it. Make sure you understand, you follow that, and not only your standards, all the expenses. Make sure that's all been accounted so you can get as far as you can on your business and improve your profitability. I strongly encourage everybody to make sure they understand. Get advice, get an expert to assist you with this. Don't hold back. The purpose of this presentation is just to plant the seed so that you can go and do the research and apply that in your business. And buy your standards, because it gives you a strong competitive edge. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great week.